Hi, my name is Alexandra May Hoya. I am from ECE41 of De La Salle University Dasmariñas, and this video is for my project-based final exam in Internet of Things laboratory subject. So in this final exam, we were asked to create and submit our home or industrial automation project. The project would be done using Node-RED, Raspberry Pi as hardware, and Python or Node-RED as the programming tool. So now I already opened my Raspberry Pi and it is working, and I already made the program in Node-RED. So it is important to take note that your Node-RED that your Raspberry Pi is connected to the same IP address that the devices that you're going to the devices that you're going to use. So this is my program. So here, if I click here, let me show you. This is one function in my this is one feature of my Node-RED dashboard. So here I created a greeting message or a message. As you can see, I have a UI group here for the message, and this message has a payload that will say that this text, have a good night, Alexa. So that is connected to an audio. So it will be, if I click a button, the Microsoft David will say the message, have a good night, Alexa. And next, this is just the text and the payload and the notification. So the notification, it will appear on the top right of the screen. So this is the code that I made using Node-RED application. So Node-RED should also, take note that Node-RED should also be opened on your Raspberry Pi. So right now my Raspberry Pi is turned on and Node-RED is open there. This IP address, you could get this on your Node-RED application in your Raspberry Pi. So you just enter that and you can create your Node-RED application. So for the first feature in my Node-RED dashboard or my home automation, by the way, my the application that I chose is a bedroom automation, exactly a bedroom light and appliance control in home. So the feature first up is a message. So I've included here a message, so every time you enter your room, you can, before you turn on your lights or your appliances, you can choose an option for Microsoft David to greet you, have a good night, Alexa. So this audio out will enable it for will let David speak the text that you input here in the payload. So next feature is the brightness for the dimmer light. So I created bedside lamp dimmer. So it is connected to a LED, and the LED is connected to GPIO 17, and it is at PWM output. So I can be able to adjust the intensity of the light or the brightness. And another is, of course, for the right side of the bed. So bedside lamp dimmer for the right side, and also it is connected to a GPIO, but in this, for the right dimmer, for the right lamp dimmer, it is connected to GPIO 19, and the same, it has a PWM output to control the intensity of the LED light. So this next is for the television. So I just used an LED here since I cannot be able to connect my actual TV to the application. So the LED will serve as the on or off state of the television. So the television is connected to, or the LED is connected to GPIO 27. So the LED will serve as the on or off state of the television, for just an example. Okay, next, we have here the air condition. So the air condition is also connected to the GPIO and GPIO pin 22, and this air condition will turn on or off with a switch. So the reason for that, I forgot to mention, for these two, the output is a digital output, since you will not alter the intensity of the LED, but just the digital output, or if it is on or off. So next, the timestamp feature. I use a timestamp for my Raspberry Pi temperature monitor. So in my UI, I also included the real-time Raspberry Pi temperature. So if you were using the Raspberry Pi, you can monitor if what the temperature of your CPU is at. So I use the timestamp there. So I chose for the payload timestamp, and the interval for the repeat I chose interval for every 1 second. So the temperature will appear, or the value will change every 1 second in the UI. So it is connected to a execute function. So the execute will this is the command for measuring the temperature, and when the command is complete, it will execute. So here I just put a name for the execute. And message payload, this is just for debugging if that works. And here it is also connected to the edit or change mode. Since we're going to change the temperature every 1 second, it should have a node like this. So here I just change this to change, search for temperature, and this is the value for the temperature. So I just added another property here, so it's also change, and the apostrophe C for the value. So next, I also debug that if that would work. And lastly, the gauge node that would be visible in the UI. So this is the gauge mode. It is connected to, of course, the change that the timestamp and the change node for it to be able to for us to be able to see the change in the graphical user interface. So here I just chose a green to yellow interval of 40. When the temperature is at 40, it is around green to yellow, and when it's 45 and above, the temperature will be considered as hot, so it will be in between yellow and red. So there, when I click on deploy, so this is the Node-RED dashboard, or the GUI. I can control it in any device that is connected to the same IP address, so that my Raspberry Pi is connected to. And I would just need to enter 192.168.100.186 colon 1880/UI. So when you enter that, so let me show you. There, you can see here, this is the message, have a good night Alexa. So if I click here,
have a good night Alexa.
So as you can hear, there's the message that is Microsoft David's voice. And of course, you can also see the Raspberry Pi temperature monitor. So as you can see here, it changes every 1 second. There. So as you can observe, my Raspberry Pi is kind of hot. Next, for the bedside lamp dimmer. So here, you can observe that I can change the brightness of the LED. So later, I'll show you a video that the LED changes intensity. Also for the right bedside lamp dimmer, and this is for the television on or off control. So also it can be seen on the LED. So now let me show you a video that shows the connection of the LED to my Raspberry Pi, and to prove that this brightness and television is visible to the LEDs on the breadboard. So now let me show you the connection of my LEDs to the Raspberry Pi and the user interface from a different device. So as you can see here, I have my iPad and it has the IP address 192.168.100.186 colon 1880/UI. So that brings us to the bedroom light and appliance control graphical user interface for Node-RED. So as you can see, my Raspberry Pi is connected to a breadboard here, has the LEDs that are connected as well to the Node-RED application. So as you can see, wait, there I have here one yellow LED for the bedside lamp dimmer, two rather yellow LEDs for the bedside lamp dimmer. So this is for the left, this is for the right. So this green LED here is for the television control. So I set the LEDs. For example, you're in a bed and this is your television, and the aircon control or LED is here. So for example, you have your bed here, you have your left side lamp here, and your right side lamp here, and your television here, and your air condition on or off, your air condition here. So now with the GUI, let me show you. For example, you will enter your home, so you will just click. For example, you want David to greet you, so you just click. So as you can see, there's a message that says have a good night, Alexa. There, one more, so you can hear it again.
Have a good night, Alexa.
So there. Next, for the temperature monitor for your Raspberry Pi. So of course, since you're continuously using your Raspberry Pi for the automation or the bedroom light and appliance control, so here is the Raspberry Pi temperature monitor. So it changes every 1 second. So as you can see, my Raspberry Pi is kind of hot at 52 degrees Celsius. So next, for the bedside lamp dimmer, so this is the left bedside lamp dimmer. So as you can see, if I change this, there, as you can observe, the gauge changes and the intensity of the LED changes as well. There. Next, for the right side, changes to. Now, for example, you want to turn on your TV. You just click on this switch, and the TV or the LED for the TV control turns on, off, on, off. And for example, you want to turn your air condition on, just click on here. There. So I think that's it. Home automation application using Raspberry Pi Node-RED, Raspberry Pi for the hardware, and Node-RED for the software application. So there.